Do I share that same vision? 3 years ago, I chose to come to Brooklyn College for, above all, one main reason, and that's the same reason that a lot of you are here. I knew I would be able to get a high-quality education without burying myself in debt. I chose to come to a school where, when I graduate, I will be able to go on to the best and brightest careers and never find myself in a position to be embarrassed with my education. Today, I am proud to be a Brooklyn College student. I am proud to be part of an institution with international recognition. And I am proud to be part of the most diverse campus community in the country. But at the same time, I've been here long enough to know that not everything is perfect. Tuition is too high, classes are too crowded, textbooks cost too much, and our buildings are falling apart. Faculty and administration need to step up to bring our school to the 21st century, and students need to be the ones leading the charge. That's why I'm running for president. I'm running because I believe that Brooklyn College should be a school that always works for us, and never the other way around. I'm running to make sure that students have voices in every part of the school, the university, and even in the legislature. And I'm running to make sure that our school continues to provide the high-quality education we were all promised. When elected, I will continue to fight for a government that guarantees rights for all, and at the same time demands responsibility from all. I will guarantee a government that spends every day in office working and fighting for you. And I will guarantee a government that spends every single day fighting for real, practical solutions to the problems that we go through every day. My name is David Rosenberg. I'm running for president, and thank you for coming out today.
Jamell. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jamell Henderson, and I too am here seeking the office of president for CLAS. I too love this campus. I love Brooklyn College. It represents me. I am Brooklyn. You are Brooklyn. We're all in this together. I'm coming here for new ideas, for a new wave of change. For the past 2 years, his party, under his leadership as a speaker, have had this opportunity to say what he wanted to do. But while I was going around and collecting signatures and talking to students, they didn't have the same wavelength of enthusiasm and momentum as my opponent does in making sure that Brooklyn College has this change where students and student government can work together. That's a problem. That's a problem when the Speaker of the Assembly's reputation is deemed as tyrannical or not even approachable. That's a problem when students don't even know who the current student government president is. When I decided to do this, I didn't do this for the title. Because the power doesn't lie in the position, it lies in the person who holds it. I come with leadership. I come with vision. I come with enthusiasm, with humility, in making sure that I work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, and making sure that you are represented. Our team, The Shield, we have to stand on the front lines and making sure that the clubs and students and student life is defended, not open for attack. This is our time, and this is a new wave of change, and I'm here to prove just that today. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank candidates for their opening statements. Before we move on, I just want to quickly point out that we do have time cards here. That's what I've been using, so just for everyone's knowledge, we'll have a 30-second time card, a 15-second time card. That means that's how much time these candidates do have left to speak, and then during the Q&A, I'll put up these cards to show how much time students who are asking questions have left. As well, if time is over, I'll put the back side of a card which is blank, just so you know that it's 0 time left. Try to respect all the time commitments so we can keep this moving steadily. And also, please respect one another when someone is speaking, so don't interrupt anyone at any time. All right, with that said, we'll move on to the first part of this debate, which is the open debate. So I'll start off by asking questions, and first David will get a chance to answer, and then Jamell will answer, and we'll switch back and forth as previously mentioned. So the first question, many candidates make false promises. How can we be sure you will keep the promises you are making?
Well, first, if you take a look at the PhD platform, which I encourage all of you to do if you haven't already, the things that we put on there are not far out crazy ideas that we've seen in previous student governments. We don't say things like, we're going to lower tuition and we're going to give everyone a car or anything like that. The things that we put on our platform are things that we've shown that we can do, that we know that students have the power to do. and that we've already been working with the administration to do. So I urge you to look at the PhD platform and see that everything that we put on there is something that we are going to work every single day to do. Those people who know me know that I'm on this campus every morning by 7:45, and I usually don't leave before 10. The administration has called me a workaholic more times because I drive them crazy at all hours of the night. And take a look, and you'll see that we are going to work nonstop to make sure that we're doing everything we can for you.
Jamell?
One of the things in my previous experience I've always talked about is that you have to be realistic in what you want to do. At the end of the day, we're students, you know, and it's important that we make sure our academic progress is on the forefront as well. But at the same time, while we are placed in this position to making sure that we fulfill the visions that we have to be realistic. I've looked at his platform, and of course my platform is also available. I've learned when you create a vision, you're not going to get everything done. Not in one term. This is something that has to be long term. The plans that I put in my platform are long term. The plans that he's placed in his platform, they are great ideas, absolutely. However, his party had 2 years to do it. Under his current administration, what have you truly seen that has really shown that Brooklyn College is the diverse college that it's supposed to be? What has his platform, his party, under his leadership have done to show that, you know what, we actually have the doors open for New England soil, or that we actually reduced the carbon footprint, or we actually got a chance to work closely with administration, making sure we have new bathrooms, because the last time I checked, bathrooms are still the same. What I'm focusing on with my platform is enhancing student life, making sure each and every one of you have an opportunity to work closely with us, not to just sit in the office, to see each and every one of the elected officials whom you elect, and stop by and talk to us. Pull us outside while we're on the quad talking, letting us know what's going on, advocating for what you want to see. My promise is, I can't fulfill them all, but if you believe in me and know that I will do my very best to make sure I get it right, we can do this together. I don't fulfill promises, I make sure it happens.
All right, do you have a 1 minute rebuttal?
All right, so first with respect to PhD's record, for the last 2 years we have gotten a lot done. Talking about food services, campus facilities, we have been doing it. So I don't know where you've been, but the fact is we have been doing it. And you may have been busy focusing on student life, and student life is important, I'm not going to say it's not. But it can never be the primary focus of student government because there are so many more students who need so many other things. Student government needs to focus to preserve the quality of the education at Brooklyn College, because that's what we're here for. Parties are great while we're here, but we're all here, I think everyone in this room can sympathize with me on this, that we're here to get an education and move forward to our careers. Student life is a lot, but it's not enough. You know, it's great to say that we're going to go to parties up in Albany, we're going to go to parties in DC, and we're going to go to parties in Miami, but what are you going to do for the student body? And that's the question that you all have to be asking here today.
Well, first of all, as much as I love to party, I like to work hard before I play hard. So, with that being said, had he really looked at my platform, it said that we will attend the conferences to represent Brooklyn College on a state and national levels. You see, if you had gone to the American Student Government Association in DC, you would have learned how to properly enhance the student government, making sure that their presence here on campus is well necessary and well fulfilled. But since you want to focus on parties, I'll focus on what I've learned. You see, I was there at the CUNY Leadership Conference in June. Brooklyn College wasn't represented, and I said in my first debate that I represented both colleges making the transition. I've networked with other student leaders, so I know what it takes. I don't have time to be putting parties out and doing other things. And then you may say that it's all great that you know, you enhanced different variety of restaurants and things like that. But if the students don't know what you guys are doing and you don't put it out there, what's the point of doing it?
All right, and we'll be moving on to our next question. What ideas do you have to simplify the budget and grant request process? Jamell?
First thing, each club has to present what they want to do throughout the academic year. okay? There are clubs out there who are doing exceptionally well in promoting student life, whether it's through academics or through social, different variations. To make it simple, you provide us with something, you do the work, you ask for more, you receive more. If you want to receive additional funding to do extra things through the grant, we won't give you a hard time and ask you to beg us in order for us to say yes. If this is your vision and you see you can make it happen, not only will we give it to you, but we'll work with you. We're not about just giving you money and going about your business. That doesn't work. That's like a landlord-tenant type of business. I don't do that. We want to make sure that not only do you spend the money well and that the budget process is easier, but that we work closely with you in making sure that you do what you need to do. Because otherwise, it's like, we're just the bank, and we're more than just that. We're not here to just give you money and go about your business. We're here to work together. And the last time I checked, I have many club leaders that I've talked to have had that same experience. It's just the bank. We're not that.
See, when Mr. Henderson talks about student government being involved in the process, that's another nice way of saying that student government will be in the business of telling clubs and even forcing clubs what they're supposed to do, and that's not the business that we're in. We're not there to tell, clubs are their own bodies. We're there to provide them with whatever they need to do it. But we don't tell them what to do. We never do, and we never should. The fact is that this year, under my administration, we've given more to the clubs than any government before us. No club has come to us with a problem not being able to get the money that they had. I love the faces that you're making, but at the end of the day, it's true. There's a difference between fact and just being able to speak nicely. And we've been able to give them the money that they have, and we hold them responsible. This year's budget process is more transparent than ever before. We put very clear requests for what we want to see from the clubs, and we don't tell clubs, oh, we think you should do this, and if you don't listen to what we say, you're not going to get the funding. That's not what we're in. That's never what student government should be doing, because clubs need the autonomy to do what they do best. When student government does eventually get involved, you end up blowing money, very much like what happened in BMCC in the last couple of years. You end up with $40,000 D-list concerts during finals and things that students don't enjoy. Students pay the student activity fee. Tuition is too high. We have to use it effectively for the students.
One minute rebuttal.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I think there's something wrong with Speaker Speaker Rosenberg. I'm sorry, I can't tell the difference between the two. You see, ladies and gentlemen, since you want to bring up BMCC, yes, we have done major concerts, annual student government concerts, and we spend money, at least $45,000 for a concert. But the difference is, we had students involved. We had students pay to come in. We didn't give out free tickets. We had clubs come in and perform and show why BMCC was great. Now let's bring it back over here. Again, notice I did not say, I'm telling clubs what to do. I said we're going to work together. Now, last time I checked, working together and telling somebody what to do are two different avenues. So, again, I'll try to say this again. It's about working together. And last time I checked, when I spoke to club leaders, what you just said about making sure that the budgets are transparent and that it was easy for them to get budgets, I'm not going to name the club leaders who spoke to me, but they had to go through hell just to get a yes from your administration. Why? That's a problem. That needs to be fixed. We got to do better than that.
We have to be responsible for the way we use the money. Every student pays the student activity fee. 100% of students pay the $112 student activity fee. Only 5 to 7% are there in clubs. The money has to be accessible to everyone, and that doesn't just mean the 3 clubs that you're talking about. When we talk about events, we have to have money there for participatory budgeting. We need to have money available for independent student projects that are not related to clubs. And your definition of student life is very different from what other students may necessarily have. When you talk about promoting student life, that doesn't include things like academic conferences, and it doesn't include things like publications and other literary reviews. You have to think of every student when you're allocating the money, and that's what we were able to do in this administration, to make sure that the money is best used for all of the students, not just the ones hanging out in Subo.
All right, with that, we'll be moving on to the next question. What can student government leadership do to bridge the gap in communication between students and the administration?
So during my first day as speaker, right when I was sworn in, I said that we saw before that that was the biggest problem that we had, and that student government was not communicating with the students, which is why, and the members of Assembly who are here can testify to this, my first act as Speaker, the absolute first thing I did after being elected Speaker, was to create an ad hoc committee on media outreach engagement, which since when we redid our Assembly structure, we made it a standing committee. That committee is charged specifically with bridging the communication gap between student government, the student body, and the administration, and they have been incredibly successful with it.
I just find this so funny because he says that, that as Speaker, his first day, he began to make the bridging the gap between students and administration. Last time I checked, the only opportunity that I saw where student government and administration actually sat down and presented themselves before the student body was the one town hall meeting that took place in the fall of 2012. It's the last time I saw it. And you know where that came from? That came not from the Office of Student Government, that came from the President's office. And it's just so funny, I looked at my email and I saw President Gould send out this town hall message. And I was there, sitting right over there, listening, all right? Listening to what, the President's cabinet as well as the student government leaders had to say. Outside of that, where is the actual media outreach to say that student government is actually sitting down working with administration, that there's actually a one-on-one sitting down with the president of the college? That hasn't been shown, and students don't even know. So if they're not aware, you can't say you've done it by having 20 or 10 people there. If the student body doesn't know, that's a problem. One of the things I would like to do is have a president-to-president interview, where President Gould and myself, we sit down, we talk and exchange conversations. Students ask us questions, whether it's professional or personal, doesn't matter, that you get to know who we are, that you get to know what we're all about. Because the president's administration and her vision is different from what I may bring, but if we're willing to compromise and work together, we can make things better. It's not about sucking up and shucking and jiving just to get a special vote to get something your way. It's not about us, it's about you, the students.
When you talk about, it's actually interesting that you bring up meetings with the administration, because there's one thing to sit and talk about an answer where you're not actually going to do something, you're just talking about what we didn't do. But then there's also the part of, your platform. I did actually give it a very close read when I first saw it. And I noticed that there is no mention over there of working with the administration on anything. Your entire platform seems to focus student life, student life, student life, student life, insanity workout on the quad, student government versus faculty games. What else do we have over there? The religious concert, which is highly offensive to a lot of students. But none of that about the administration. So before talking about letting students know about what we're doing with the administration, actually sit down and do something with the administration. This year you've been president of the Student Center Advisory Board, and since you've done that, we've actually had a proposal put forth to take this building which is owned by the students of Brooklyn College, and just give it to the state of New York. Just give it. Not sell it, not make some arrangement to actively control it, just give our entire building to the state of New York. So talk about what you will do with the administration.
Okay. Fact check, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am the president of the Brooklyn College Student Center Advisory Board. No, we have not made a vote on whether or not to give this building to Brooklyn College. Fact check. That meeting is taking place May 8th. And my team has still yet be sitting down and be actually talking about whether or not that's a great idea or not. Personally, I will not disclose that information due to the fact that we have to have that meeting. So please don't be offended by that. However, if you look at my platform, section 6, it says fuse student power with CLAS student government to bring pressure to the administration in fulfilling the needs of the students. So what does that mean? Upon getting elected, I will have to sit down with the president of the college, bring forth to her what my platform is, and see what she wants to do, and see how we can work together. And then making sure that the student media knows what's going on, and that we had this conversation. I've yet to see in the papers that you sat down and talked with the president.
I'm not exactly sure what papers you've been reading, but I think we have some people from the Kingsman there. I think, what was it? I think there were 2 issues the entire year that my name wasn't in there for something or other, and I know I've been called a media whore because of it, but besides, we do talk with the administration, and we do make sure that the students know what we're doing. So I'm not exactly sure what college you're in and what papers you're reading, but those are the facts here at Brooklyn.
All right, with that, we'll go to the next question. The Academic Club Association, also known as ACA, was established to foster and protect academic clubs. Do you see it as necessary to maintain ACA? If not, please explain why and what would happen to these academic clubs. That question goes to you all.
The ACA is a very important organization. With academics, you know, of course, that is the priority of us as students. We're here to gain academic progress in order for us to graduate. They play a very essential role, not only working with student government, but also providing a balance with student life. Again, I like to say that when you're working closely with organizations such as this, you have to make sure that they get what they need to fulfill their vision and mission. Now, I don't know what my opponent thinks of that, but I truly feel that the Academic Club Association has to be receive more money so that way they can fulfill the necessary duties that's required. Because there's many students out there who are struggling academically. And if they're not aware of what the Academic Club Association is doing, or nor they do have the resources to go out and reach out to them through the proper advocation of CLAS student government, then they're just sitting there, and we don't want that. I know I don't want that. We want to make sure that all the clubs who are operating under academically are out there so that students can know and come to them as resources. Not only going to the Writing Center or the Learning Resource Center, but these clubs who are specialized in specific fields and making sure that they do what they need to do. That's what's important, and that's what needs to happen. It's not about keeping them quiet or keeping them silent and screwing them because, you know, they have to work under their terms. It's not about that. Again, it's about working together and making sure that everybody is on the winning side.
So this goes back to CLAS being responsible for all the clubs. And what happened over the number of years with ACA is that you've had multiple clubs that were double dipping between CLAS and ACA, collecting money that they should not have. And in that process, you ended up with a lot of clubs getting stuck in a ping pong match between CLAS and ACA, where a club wanted to go on a trip. And they would go to ACA, ask for money. ACA would tell them, go to CLAS, they've got more money than us, go get the money from there. They would then come to CLAS and come to the Budget and Finance Committee, and then we would say, wait a minute, you're an academic club. The Academic Club Association is responsible for your funding. That's why, in the beginning of the semester, we passed the Charter Clarification Act to make sure that every single club has a designated funding body to do it. Just yesterday, I and an ad hoc committee of the Assembly sat down with the leadership of ACA so we can figure out exactly how to make the transition for all the academic clubs, all the cultural clubs, and all the hobby clubs to make sure that everyone has the funding that they need, working within the parameters of the student activity fee. I'm not sure, when you talk about getting more funding for ACA, ACA is a referendum-funded group and is funded independently of student government and is actually ineligible to receive funding from student government. So, are you trying to run a referendum to raise their increase? And if yes, does that mean you're going to raise student fees? Because that's the only way to do it, unless you're taking money from somewhere else, and then please tell me where you're going to get that from. ACA, when it functions well, is great because academic clubs need to be held to a different standard than the cultural clubs because a lot of what they do costs a lot more money than what regular clubs do, which is why the ACA was created a number of years ago. And it was to get away from the political bickering that you and I are having right now. So a higher involvement with CLAS, possibly a good thing, but more importantly is that we're working together to make sure that we can both do our jobs properly.
It can't be possibly a good thing if you're saying that we should work together. Pick a side. Again, it's important that CLAS and ACA work together. It's not about leaving them out to dry. We can't do that. Yes, they may have their own independent budget, but that doesn't mean that CLAS student government cannot help them in reaching out to all the students. Because once again, it's like here, you have yours, I have mine, you go about your business, I go about mine. It does not work that way. Last time I checked, when you do those things, it only creates division among the leadership and it puts less trust and confidence in the leadership that elected you. So again, that has to be changed and that has to be fixed. You can't do that. You have to work together.
So I'm not exactly sure what your point was there, but talking about working together between CLAS and ACA, we share a hallway, we sit, we talk to each other, we go forward. The process of now making sure that every club has a funding body, that is a collaborative process between ACA and CLAS. We do work together on that. But when it comes to telling clubs what to do, and this is again, I'm going to hit you on this again and again, we cannot be in the business of telling clubs what to do. That's not our job and it's not our right. Students' clubs are not children that need spankings. They don't need penalties from student government. They don't need empty threats of cutting their budget. They need student government to be there to help them and then to just get out of the way.
All right, we'll be moving on to the next question. What do you see as the biggest problem with student government, and how do you propose to fix it?
The biggest problem with student government, and this is interesting because I am on student government, the biggest problem is holding our members accountable to the job that they need to do. Back in October, one of the first things I put forth as speaker was to change the rules, to hold the members accountable, to make sure that people who run for student government aren't just running so they can get into a good medical school or they can meet a couple of nice people or get a nice letter of recommendation. That when you come to student government, you are actually responsible to get stuff done, not just come to a meeting once a week and eat pizza. That holding members accountable, making sure that we're doing what we're doing, making sure that we're at the meetings that we need to be to defend the student body, because again, that is our primary job. Our primary job is to be the voice of the students, not just to be the entertainer-in-chief. So that's what we have to do. The first thing we have to do is make sure that we're holding our elected officials accountable to the job that we elect them to do.
Well, since I'm not in student government yet, one of the first things that I, as among many of students who I've talked about, the view of the student government, is that they don't even know who you are. They don't even know who the current president is. That's a problem. When they hear of Speaker Rosenberg, they be like, him? He's running? He's in charge? I've had bad relationships with him. I've had bad business work ethics with him. So you want to talk about holding people accountable? Start from the top. Start from the leadership. You see, when you're in a position of leadership, you have to accept that you too are at fault, and that you have made mistakes, and that you haven't done all that you say you were going to do in fulfilling the needs of what students want. You have to make sure that as leaders that you're transparent, that you're out there advocating for each and every student. That it's not about your opinion. It's about the opinions of the students. That you don't be biased and go to one event and then not go to another. It's about being there for everybody, regardless of what you believe or what your standards are, because that's what leadership is all about. And yes, even me, I will make mistakes, and I've admitted in my leadership positions, I've made mistakes. And I've listened to the criticism of students. Because you know what that does? That makes me better. It's not about you attacking me. It's about you telling me what I should do to step it up. If students don't have the opportunity to come and address you about that, then how would you learn and effectively grow as a leader? Being transparent, being more accountable, and being on the front lines for students, that is the major problem that we have right now with the current members of student government.
I would say that, do you know who the current president is? Because I'm not exactly sure how many of the members you're actually familiar with, because at the same time, there are 10,800 some odd students here, and 29 members of student government couldn't possibly reach all of them, because quite frankly, they're not here all the time. We have students who work, students who have more than one job, students that have families and other responsibilities that are not here the entire time. That's why it's the job of student government to go into the administration, and it's not just about the students that we see, and that's where your biggest mistake is. Because you only see a small percentage of the students. The students that I see every day, the ones that I see even when I walk around the campus, and even between all my classes and all the buildings that I'm in classes with, we're not even talking about half of the student body. When we're talking about, student government has to focus on things for the benefit of all the students, not just the ones that we see every day.
Again, it's not about the ones we see every day. It's about being accountable and transparent. One of the things, you said that yes, there may be 29 of you guys and there's 10 for 17,000 students. Okay, implement a program, which is what I have in my platform, a student representative program, where those who are not interested in running for student government yet, but wants to know the ins and outs, because then they too could be liaisons to us, and we can hire as many, not hire, but bring forth many of these volunteers to work closely with us, shadow what we do, so that way, even if we're absent as elected officials, they could be the ones to represent us. You see, that way you expand your growth. You market yourself. You put flyers up about yourself. Hey, meet current student government president Abraham, or meet Speaker of the Assembly David Rosenberg. Put a special quote about yourself. Show something. if students don't know who you are, you know what happens? I really don't care. I had students sign my petition because it's just like, okay, well, we don't know what's going on, so we don't care. You have to be accountable. You have to be transparent. And if you're not doing that, that's a problem.
See, but that really goes back to the history of BMCC student government, where it's more a popularity contest, where it's about getting your face out and getting people to smile at you and say, hey, Mr. President, how are you? But that's not really what it's about. I guarantee you that you probably didn't even know that there's a former student government president in the room now. But that's because when he was president, instead of going out and shaking everybody's hand and saying, hey, look at me, I'm president of student government, he was talking to the administration. He was getting things done for us, because that's what he has to do. Student government has 9 months to get stuff done. And if you're going to spend 9 months shaking everybody's hands so they know you, you're going to end your term without anything done.
Just like you will in a few weeks.
All right, we'll be moving on to the next question. I'd like to remind everyone that please keep statements and rebuttals as short as possible so we can get through all these questions. All right, so the next question is, how can student government reach out to more students and get them more involved? Jamell?
One of the things we put in our platform is that we have to have a massive student survey. We work closely with administration to send out emails. Actually have monthly and weekly town hall meetings, where it's not about discussing club issues, it's about hearing what you have to say. Bringing forth issues that you have to bring, that you may not see what's going on here or that's happening on campus. You telling us, hey guys, listen, I noticed that, public safety is constantly harassing us with our IDs or whatever. Is there a better process? Or I noticed that we only had like 1 fire drill a semester. And a lot of things is happening across campuses, across the country. What are we doing to properly ensure that if in case of emergency, we can properly evacuate, the buildings? Things of that nature. How can we, show variety of restaurants in Boylan Hall so everybody can have a diverse opportunity to eat something? Or what can we do to show, how we can work closely with you? If we don't hear your voice, then we're gonna go by what we think. And that's not how I operate. That's not how my team operates. It's important to hear your voice. You tell us what you see going on, because at the end of the day, just like me, I'm a student just like you. We go to our classes, we go to our different resources, we go to our different buildings, we see what's going on. And we could bring forth, you guys are the direct representation of telling us what should be done. And if we can't hear your voice, or there's not an opportunity for you to speak your voice before us, then how are we supposed to know what's going on? This vision that I have with the platform, yes, it's a great, great opportunity. However, it may not be in coherence with what you want. And therefore, it's my job to sit down and listen to you and see how we can work to make it happen. It's important to hear your voice. Your voice is the most important voice, not mine. It's yours.
With that, though, it's a lot more the same, because another event, and another event, and another event, and another town hall, and another thing, you're hitting the same students that we're hitting already with our meetings, and we've been doing events and town halls for a while. And we hit the same students because it's the same students at common hours, and at the same time you're competing with clubs, you're hitting the same 5 to 10% of the student body again and again and again. What we want to do to reach more students is reach out to everyone, and that requires us having an online presence. That's why it was incredible when I came into the Assembly and realized that the Assembly doesn't have a Facebook page. That's why one of the first things we did was make one. And it's been growing, and we're reaching more students who we don't see every day. It's not just about the student, another event and another event and another event reaches the same students over and over again. You're not reaching more. That's why our members really go out and we actually do talk to people. We actually do talk to our friends. We talk to the people in our classes. We talk to the people that we see and find out what they want. Because we need to reach the other students, the ones that don't come to events.
All right, I'm rather confused because you just said you talk to your friends, you talk to your classmates. That's not reaching out to everybody. You just agree with what you said. You reach out to the 5 or 10% that you know. It's about going beyond our walls of comfortability. It's about stepping out and going out to reaching out to each and every one that's sitting here. The fact that there's not many students sitting in this room right now is a problem, okay? And as leaders, we have to be held accountable for that. We have to go beyond sitting at, the people that's sitting on the lawn, the people that's chilling in front of Boylan Hall, the people that's out in the web building. We have to reach out to all of those individuals and talk to them. Let them see your face, because when they see your face as a marketing strategy, they'll remember who you are and say, hey, I know you. Listen, I heard this is going on, this is going on. Can you tell me more about it so I can tell my people? Word of mouth usually is the strongest way to work out. And by having a website, which you set on your platform, you had the opportunity to do it. Where's the website? Don't see nothing. Kudos on the Facebook page though, but where's the website?
Website's coming, don't worry about it. That we are leaving to the next year for us to do when we win in a couple of weeks. But when we talk about actually going out, going out to the web building, that's going out to the same students, you're not really putting up anything new. So you sit and talk about how you're the wave of change, but we're yet to see anything come out that's a new idea, that's nothing that we haven't seen in previous years come out of the USL party. In fact, your platform was awfully reminiscent of the old USL camp platforms that I've seen in previous years. So you talk about how you're the candidate of change and these new ideas, but I'm yet to see anything really that new. We're going out to talk to students. The students that we're talking to are not the ones in this building. We're going out to all the classes. We're going out online. We have a community of 12,000 students that we constantly, not 12,000, 1,200, I'm sorry, that we keep a pulse on what they want. I don't know if you've ever seen the Facebook group Brooklyn College in the Know. Those are students that are not involved in campus life, that are constantly online complaining about various things that are wrong and looking for things. And that's where we are, looking for those students, the ones that aren't running around here, the ones that have jobs and have families and other responsibilities. So when we talk about reaching out to more students, that's how we're talking about. I don't know who you're talking about.
All right, the next question is, what sort of relationship would CLAS student government have with ACA if you were elected? David?
So in the past, the relationship between CLAS and ACA has been troubled. That everyone knows, it's not a secret. In fact, ACA was founded back about 20-some years ago for the distinct purpose of getting away from student government, which has made things a little bit tricky over time. But now, over the last couple of weeks, we've been working a lot closer with them, especially because we have this project now of making sure that all the clubs are under a funding body. Just yesterday, the CLAS leadership sat down with the ACA leadership, and we're going to have a lot more of those meetings in the next coming weeks. We're also going to be having a town hall, actually. Sometime we're hoping to get the room next week. But room is tight because actually, despite what you're saying, student life is actually packed this week. So with us, we would have a relationship where ACA would have its independence to do what it needs to do, and the ACA clubs would have their independence, but at the same time, we would always be communicating on the issues that affect both of us.
Notice all this is happening around campaign time. Where was all this happening in the beginning of the semester? When was all this happening during the fall semester? That students were supposed to know about this. As a matter of fact, the tension that happened between ACA and CLAs happened under your watch. What's going on with that? That's a problem. Let me make something very clear. Once elected as president, when I sit down, the first thing we're going to do is sit down with the leaders. We're going to sit down with ACA. We want to know what was the problems in the past under the previous leadership. What do you want to bring to the table to make sure that everybody's happy? We'll bring our ideas, they'll bring theirs, we will work together. Notice, again, work together, not tell them what to do. Showing them that we're there for them. That it's not about, you do your thing and we do our thing. It's about us working together to making sure that the students do what they're supposed to do, which is to successfully graduate. But also, while working with them, making sure that we have a good time together, because like I said, it's not always about business. Yes, you can work hard, but there's a time where you can also play hard as well. Only if you have the opportunity to do what you say you're going to do, and not towards the last minute fulfill all these things that's happening just because, election is coming down to the wire. All these things should have been done well before the semester is even getting ready to close. This should have been happening months ago. This shouldn't be happening now. And that's poor leadership on Speaker Rosenberg's end.
So my first question with that is, what happens, and you talk about this a lot with clubs, and when you talk about working together and not telling them what to do. That's something that you said a good couple of times today. It's something you said a lot in the last debate. What happens when they don't work with you? What happens if ACA turns back to you and says, we want nothing to do with CLAS. CLAS is too political for us. Things don't happen. We don't want it. What happens when a club comes to you and says, we don't want to promote the event the way you say we should. We want to do it our way. We want to have a small meeting with our membership. We don't want to promote it to everyone. What happens then? What's the next step?
The next step is to be accountable. I would say, on behalf of myself and the members of CLAS Student Government, we do apologize for the past dirty principles that took place under the previous leadership. We're not like them. We're here to work with you. Tell me, if you don't want to work with us, at least give us an opportunity to present ourselves to the table. Let us see how we can begin to start rebuilding a relationship and not keep it the way it is. Because once we're able to do that, then we can show that there's progress between the government and the clubs and the leadership. It's not about one side doing one thing and the other side doing the other. It's about bridging the gap. And right now, many of those bridges are very difficult to cross because either they crumbled or they've already collapsed under his watch.
Let me just point out that you didn't answer the question there. I sure you did.
All right, we'll be moving on to the next question because we are limited in time. We have 6 more questions, then we will have a Q&A. So the next question, the president gets a certain amount of money from the budget to use as they see fit. What would you do with that money, Jamell?
Again, one of the first things I would do with that money is first, I wouldn't even touch it. I would want to hear what students want to see. That's the first thing you have to do. One of the things in all my leadership, and throughout my life, in my 27 years, I've held 11 presidential positions. 11. And one of the first things I've always done throughout each position is to hear what the people want. See what they want to happen within the respective organization. So here, I will go to students. We will create a massive survey. And even go out with our team on the front lines, going, hey, stop it. Hey, before you go to class, can you just answer 2 or 3 quick questions? Tell me, what would you like to see? Oh, I would like to see, better bathrooms. Or I would like to see Wi-Fi happen, which was supposed to happen under his leadership. Or, I would like to see more diversity. I would like to see more student activities where, it's not always about work. Because you never know what students want. Based on that, I will bring it forth to the body, and we will discuss ways we can incorporate their views with ours and begin to make things happen and promote it out to the student body. Let them know that we've heard ideas from students and that we're working to implement those actions. It's not about what we say. It's about what you want. It's about what you want to see happen. We're just the person who's going to cheerlead your vision and cheerlead your ideas and making sure that you get what you want and get it deserved. Now, am I going to say everything is going to happen? Absolutely not. But we will be honest enough to say, you know what? We did hear those ideas and we did try to work it out. Unfortunately, the body didn't vote in the favor, but we're going to continue to keep it on the table, try to revamp it so that way it can happen. You don't give up on ideas. You make sure that the idea is still there, that it's still fresh, and that you're able to pursue and making sure that the students get what they deserve.
It's actually interesting that President Zweck is at the door for this one because the executive budget, which by the way is not controlled by the Assembly, has had an interesting history. In the past, it's been used for some things that I've taken very clear objection to, like a $40,000 concert on the students' dime during finals. That one, I've said it multiple times, I've had serious problems with. This year, in fact, most of the money has not been used. The only thing that it really significantly was used for was participatory budgeting. So, as president, the money that I would have first, the executive line this year in this year's budget is going to be smaller because I think more money should be put in the assembly line for the clubs. And when the budget is passed in the next couple of weeks, it will be smaller. And then I would use the rest of that money for campus events. Things like Movie on the Quad, which by the way, next Thursday, April 18th, make sure to come out watching Ghostbusters. And then things like that, which don't break the bank, but are things that benefit large numbers of students. And then for any other policy initiatives, because policy initiatives take time and they take money. And so if we wanted to do it, we would. But things like bathrooms and Wi-Fi, I would never spend student activity fee money on something that tuition is supposed to be paying.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I feel like we having a basic one-on-one communication, not understanding where we're coming from, okay? It's not about a movie on the quad. First of all, how many students did you reach out to ask that? Because, one, that's probably not everybody's idea. That could be your idea. That could be the assembly's idea. But it's not our idea. Everybody didn't want that. How many people voted on that? Less than 100. Like, come on. You have to be able to diversify what you want to do as student government. Now, I do agree that the concert for 40 grand, it was a wrong idea because it was improperly spent. I know how to do big concerts, and you do it the right way. Like I said, making sure that students are participating in these concerts. It shouldn't be about a DJ for 3 hours and then Fabulous coming out, which, by the way, I'm sure you know who he is. You have to be able to make sure that you're working hard to making sure that every student has an opportunity to diversify what they want to do on campus.
So you didn't really respond so much, but moving on the quad, I don't know where you got the less than 100 votes, because I actually get to see the numbers on that, and the number was 516 votes. That's right there. So 516 votes, that is a lot of students. We're going to see what the attendance is next week. It's going to be interesting with the weather. But moving on the quad is something that students have wanted ever since it's been done 4 years ago. So when you come and say that this is just something that came of a little brainchild of me and the assembly leadership, like, hey, let's throw a movie on the quad, no, it's something that students have wanted for a very long time.
516 out of 17,000. Do the math, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we'll be moving on to the next question. How would you make student government more inclusive of all groups, especially women and LGBT folk? David.
So, for starters, this year's student government has had the highest percentage of women that it has ever had, and the PhD platform. The PhD ticket this year has more women than any ticket before, and is actually reflective of the demographics of the school. The school is 60% women. We're not down the middle. We're very clearly, we have more women than men, 60% women, and that's what the PhD ticket actually is. We embody that. As far as reaching it out to other groups who need it, one important part of our platform is about protecting the diversity that we have here at Brooklyn College, and that means reaching out to LGBT students. That means making sure that every student group, students with disabilities, veteran students, and all those different groups who make the campus what it is what we need to focus on. Diversity is a lot more, and I'm going tomorrow to the school's civic seminar to talk about it, but diversity has to be more than just the color of your skin, because there are 17,000 students here. I cannot pretend to represent the experiences of every single one of them. And I think anyone who gets up here and says that they can represent every student and the experience of every student on this campus is either incredibly deluded or is lying to you. Which is why it is important that we focus on things that reach all the students while making sure that those individual groups that need a little extra support are being taken care of.
Under his platform, ladies and gentlemen, says that it's about diversity. Last semester, SJP had their event, right? The assembly speaker shunned it. It gotten all this national and city recognition for no reason. That's the first thing. So if you're talking about diversity, you should have been on the side of the club, not telling administration that they should cancel this because they're doing what they need to do. You don't do that. As a leader, you come in and you say, you know what? It's not about me. I'm standing in support of SJP for this BDS movement. I may not agree with their issues or their opinions, but as a leader, I have to sit down and support them, because that boosts the morale of clubs to be there. You can't talk about diversity if you haven't done anything to do it. Yes, there are more women here, students here on campus, and that's a great, wonderful thing. But let's not forget and let's not sugarcoat the real issue. There is a racial divide on campus. And that was the unfortunate stigma that I had to witness when I came on campus transferring from BMCC. I came here and students from this college told me, you're going to see a divide between the blacks and the minorities and the Jewish students. That the Jewish students run everything and that they do this. And it hurt me so bad to see that there's such a divide in 2013. You have to come up with workshops, talk about the historic principles and how we were able to work together. What can we do now as Brooklyn College to represent the borough that we love? Because this is a great borough of diversity. Having flags put up around the campus to show the different diverse countries that are represented here. Having people bring in their national dishes, talk about each other's cultures. That shows diversity. Not just having people on a particular field just because, you know, it makes the quota look good. That doesn't work.
All right, so I want to take this minute to set the record straight once and for all with respect to the BDS event, because that's something that's been a major issue in this election. It's been something that's been a major issue since before the spring semester started. I never once, and this you clearly lied on this, I've never once said that that event should have not happened. I completely have always supported the right of the club to have that event. My one argument though, and I will stand and defend this, that the political science department had no business sponsoring that event. It was incredibly imprudent on their part, especially since they should have known exactly what the result would have been. And for an academic department to breach that kind of academic integrity was wrong. That being said, the administration had no power to stop it, but again, it was wrong. I never, ever said that the club does not have the right to do it. And in fact, I've gotten up many times and sat and argued with elected officials about this, about how the event should and must go on. So before you get up here and you accuse me of things like that, something which I find so reprehensible, telling the club what to do, get your facts straight.
Again, let's make it very, very clear. Were you there?
No, I was not.
Exactly.
President
That's my point. You can't say, oh, you're for it and you're not physically there. I was there. I sat down, I took notes. It was a very interesting meeting, by the way. You should have been there. That shows leadership. Not saying, hey, we're for you, but when the time comes, where's my elected official? That's like the mayor saying, hey, we're going to support Brooklyn College and I'm going to speak at your graduation, and he doesn't show up. What then? That does not work. You don't say one thing, your actions don't back it up. I'm a person that does that. I was there. I will support any club in making sure that they know what they need to do. It's important that you expose the diversity, not just talk about it, be about it.
We'll be moving on to our next question. How would you address the lack of communication, transparency, and availability of President Gould, who only has one press conference a semester for 1 hour with prepped questions for student media?
Again, first thing we will have to do as president, I will have to sit down with her and bring forth these issues. What can we do to show that you're here for the students? Because being a president of the college, I'm sure, is a very strenuous job. Not something I would want. But at the same time, you have to make sure that the students are happy at your campus. So sitting down and having more discussions with her, having an opportunity to have a special event, lunch with the presidents, you know, not only myself as a potential CLAS president, but also with the others, the SGS and the GSO, like to sit down and talk with them and have a dialogue, making sure that we all on the same page, not put prep questions, but be real, because as leaders, we don't have time for prep questions. Students need to tell us what they feel and what they need to know, and we need to be able to answer it. And if we can't get it right, say you don't know. Socrates said, the wisest man can admit that they don't know. And as a leader, it will be my job to make sure to sit down with President Gould and making sure that you're also a major cheerleader in representing the students. Because if they see the president of the college doing what they're supposed to do and helping students out, that boosts the morale of students and the student life. They'll have respect for their leadership and not just only see them because they're taking a walk or just hanging out in front of Boylan Hall. It's about us working together, sitting down, having a discussion, making sure it's televised, putting it in the newspaper, asking questions. You guys bringing forth questions to me that I can relate to her. So that way you can be able to work together. That is showing transparency and accountability.
Over the last few months, I've actually gotten a chance to get to know the president a little bit better. In fact, I actually will be sitting down with her later tonight to talk about various things. She is an incredibly busy woman. That the president of the college, she does not have an easy job. That's definitely true. She is responsible for making sure the campus has the money that we need to do everything for the new campus. In 10 years, when you come back to Brooklyn College, it's going to be a very different place because of President Gould and her busy schedule. And yes, being able to talk with the president, and having a more open relationship between the president and the student body is something that I've spoken with her a number of times about, in fact. But to say that there are no meetings between student government and the president is a lie. There's policy council, there's senior council. It's not easy to get a meeting with her, but it is doable. And in fact, she is out and about. In fact, when was it Monday or it was Tuesday night, where I was sitting with her at the volleyball game, watching the men's volleyball team play against City College. So she is out more. Her schedule is busy, was to make sure that we take advantage of the time that we have with the president, which your platform talks nothing about, taking advantage of senior counsel and policy counsel to make sure that we're getting her when she is available, because we have to know that we are working within her constraints.
In my platform, it says to tap into student power. One of the things as leaders, which I know from experience, is that if I don't have the pressure from you to making sure that I get the job done, then I can't get it done. As an elected official, it is your job to making sure that I fulfill the promises that I have for you. So, by you telling me, hey, listen, we want you to set up a meeting with President Gould. We need to talk about a major issue that's happening, or whether it's diversity or whatever. Put the pressure on us to making sure it happens. Yes, President Gould is a very busy individual, and she's a very nice woman, by the way. However, just like she has an obligation with her cabinet, she has an obligation with the students. And the students, without the students, guess what? There's no Brooklyn College. So our voice is the most important voice on this campus. And if she doesn't have the time to hear us, then you know what? It's important that you guys rally with me in making sure that we get an opportunity to speak with her.
But then again, saying that you're going to tap into student power is another way of saying that you're not going to take advantage of the job, not just the job of the president, but the opportunities that the president has. Policy Council is the body in which the biggest decisions of the school are happening, and that's when you get your audience with the president. You've got to take advantage of that. You've got to sit and work, and your platform talks nothing about working with the administration. It talks about student power, student power, student power. But what is student power going to do for you if you're never going to get into the room where decisions are made? It was President Truman who said decisions are made by those who show up. If you're not in the room for those meetings with the administration, if you're busy running around and smiling and shaking everyone's hand to make sure that they recognize you, you will not get anything done.
Where's your student power?
Student power rises with the 10,000 students who hold me responsible to my job.
Just like the 526 for quad, right?
All right, we'll be moving on to the next question. What is your stance on the Pathways program being implemented in all of CUNY, David?
Pathways program is difficult. As a biology major, Pathways does hurt me a little bit. It does. Some of the things, especially in the transition, are going to be difficult. But that does not separate from the fact that me, as Speaker of the Assembly, I'm responsible for all the students. In CUNY, and in Brooklyn College in particular, 60% of the students who graduated with a degree from here didn't start here. I'm a minority in that sense, and Jamell would be one of the 60% who did not start his degree here. So when we talk about transfers, we have to make sure that we're taking care of them. When you have, I remember I was talking to the University Provost Logue, and she was telling me a story at Brooklyn College where 2 students transferred from Kingsborough. One of them had an associate's degree. And I believe the major was in business, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember, it was a while ago. He had the associate's degree, all 60 credits. Came to Brooklyn College, and all those credits transferred seamlessly. Another student, same major, at 58 credits, was 2 credits short of an associate's degree, and when he came to Brooklyn College, almost all of those credits were discounted. The transfer process in CUNY has, for a very long time, been completely arbitrary, left up to the host colleges, and puts the faculty at odds because they sit and they start fighting with each other about who's better. And we start having a little measuring contest between the different schools about who's got a better education. And the Pathways program goes out to make sure that every student has all their credits transferred, to make sure that we have a unified core curriculum for an integrated university. And though personally, there are some parts that will not be so great for me, for the larger student body, it is the better thing to do and it's the right thing to do.
When it comes to Pathways, in my previous experience during my leadership at BMCC, I definitely stood on the front lines at that time representing community college, because with Pathways, it really directly affects community college students who are transferring. And for those who don't know, BMCC and Brooklyn College are like a brother-sisterhood relationship. A lot of the students, including Kingsborough, they all come here. I stood on the front lines working closely with PSC, Professional Staff Congress, and I even spoke at one of the events in Manhattan. You can go on their website and search it. I spoke about Pathways. Pathways has been done wrong, and it's been incorrect, and it needs student input on that level in making sure that everybody agrees with something. You can't say what the best interest for a student is if you don't have student input at the table. Because at the end of the day, these are professionals. They have their degrees. We're the ones who's trying to get ours, and it affects us. And I strongly advocate for all of my friends and every student who will be coming here in the fall semester who's trying to make sure they get all their credits successfully transferred through, whether they got their associate degree or not. That has to be placed on the front line where students have more input. And I definitely agree with you on that, because it affects everybody. And I represent one of the 60% of students who actually transferred. You know, if I didn't have my associate degree, I'm sure I wouldn't be standing here right now. So it's important that we make sure that we go and address this issue, working closely with the Professional Staff Congress and standing on the front lines with them, collaborating with other student governments and making sure that Pathways is done the correct way. As a matter of fact, there's a press conference coming up in May that I will be speaking a part of, representing here at the college.
So with the implementation process for Pathways, there actually was student involvement in the process. I actually know some of the students who sat on the committee that worked on Pathways. It was done with student involvement, it was done with faculty involvement, it was done with administrative involvement over a long period of time. Now, it may not have been done perfectly, and I can tell you that it wasn't. But now we have to look at the reality. The reality is that the Board of Trustees passed a resolution saying that Pathways will be implemented in every single CUNY school in fall of 2013. That's in a couple of months. And whether we like it or not, it's going to happen. So PSC has spent a lot of time trying to stop Pathways, trying to sue Pathways, and trying to block schools and make sure that students are suffering because they're upset that the administration stepped on their toes. And I think that's wrong, because faculty should really be involved in making sure that the transition from the old system to Pathways works for all the students, instead of trying to get in the way and shut down departments so it can't be implemented.
Once again, I do have to agree. I think that's an issue that we both advocate strongly about. And it is going to happen, unfortunately. So I think one of the things we will have to do is actually begin to work with academic departments here on campus and actually do statistics of what's happening with students who are coming in from community colleges, see how they have been directly affected. And if it's a strong number, then we need to bring this forth back to the Board of Trustees or through our representation of USS to bring forth these issues, because this is going to affect our students from this point on. And we have to make sure that the students who are successfully transferring get all the credits that they've worked very hard for, because it's not just about credits now. It's about the money you spent to get here. So we don't want nobody's money to be spent in vain. Every credit you worked hard for, every credit you paid for, you should be able to receive it successfully.
We'll be moving on to the next question. How can the 5-bar pledge become a reality? Explain in detail. Jamell.
The 5-bar pledge, wow. That's under Speaker Rosenberg's platform. One of the first things that has to be done is that we have to sit with the person within administration and talk about how each building structure are able to properly receive the proper Wi-Fi network setup that's supposed to have. Now, under his platform, that was there. I don't know how long it's been there, but it's there. We should have had that a long time ago. How many of you guys, be honest, I've been in class and you try to get a message and the bar will go from 4 to 0. It will go in and out all the time. You have to go to a specific hallway in James just to get full signal, and things like this in 2013, we should be having these things by now. So one of the things I would say, we have to work closely with who our wireless service provider is, because if they're not doing a good job, then we need to find somebody new. We need to make sure that every area of each hall on campus has some type of Wi-Fi service. And making sure that the president and the cabinet of the administration are held accountable to making sure this happens, because emergencies happen, ladies and gentlemen. My mother, for example, is constantly sick and I'm her healthcare proxy. And if I can't get a phone call, seconds can change like that. So it's very important that we make sure that we implement it. Looking at a diversified wireless service providers and making sure that they can offer us the best solution. Because maybe who we have now isn't doing a good job, but yet we're still paying them month after month, year after year. We have to make sure that this happens. And it needs to happen right away. It doesn't have to be a long-term plan. This should have been implemented by now. So we need to have that happening right away.
So I have a little bit of an advantage in this question because, as Jamell mentioned, this is one of the parts of the platform. And yes, this should have been done 10 years ago, which is exactly why it's such an important part of the PhD platform. So we don't have an actual wireless service provider here. It's done through IT. The buildings, a lot of them, especially James, Boylan, and Ingersoll, are very old buildings. They are very old buildings. In fact, Boylan and Ingersoll are both nuclear fallout shelters, so if North Korea has their way, we can always run there. That's why service is so bad. But a couple of years ago, the administration sat down and actually priced out what it would cost to put cell phone service and Wi-Fi throughout the entire campus. And it would cost in the neighborhood of about $475,000 to $500,000. That's what it would actually cost for us to do it. The money for that comes from the student technology fee. And the annual budget for the student technology fee is roughly about the same number. It's a little bit over $500,000 a year. So what's happened in previous years is that little parts, they've been doing the Wi-Fi and cell phone service step by step. They started in James, which is why when I was a freshman, you couldn't get cell phone service in the basement of James when I was in Nyford. We couldn't do it. That's how I have a Google Voice number now. But now you actually can. And they're starting to make progress, and they decided to do it floor by floor. What the 5-bar pledge says is we're calling on the administration, and now we're starting to get some support from higher administration officials, saying that hold everything off because the student tech fee goes to things like library computers and new computer labs and other things like that. We're saying put a hold on those for a year, and in 1 year, let's bang out all the floors of the entire building with Wi-Fi and cell phone service. Get that done, get that out of the way. It's something that should have been done 10 years ago. And then next year we'll be able to leave the rest of the money for computer labs, and we won't have to constantly be fixing Wi-Fi and cell phone service with student tech money.
It's great that you mentioned that it should have been done 10 years ago, okay? And I don't know about, many other students, but I know I haven't heard any progress when it came to that. Not saying that you haven't done it, but it hasn't been shown. We have to make sure that students are well kept up with the progress of what's going on, making sure that the Wi-Fi service is happening. So there should have been an announcement saying, hey, ladies and gentlemen, James Hall is now fully Wi-Fi capable. You can now use your phone, you can use wireless printing service and pick it up, things like that. There has to be some type of progress that has to show that, the money that we're using, that we're giving to the student technology fee is being put to good use. And we have to make sure that it happens. We have to put pressure on it. You can't just sit back idle and allow this to just mosey on in. You have to put pressure on that so students can know what's going on, because emergencies happen, ladies and gentlemen, and it's very serious. And I could be one of those people that could be falling out in those emergencies.
In fact, I remember when it came out in James, when we first had the Wi-Fi, I remember an email did come from Vice President Gold. And I guess the usual thing is that students, including myself, when I see an email from Brooklyn College, my first instinct is to hit that little garbage can on the top of my Gmail page. That's a common problem. That's been the problem that's been identified in communication, is that the best way we can communicate is email, but students don't read emails because there are just too many of them. Which is why, actually, Director Thompson and a couple of other people in the administration have been looking at different ways we can communicate, but as we've been talking about in this debate, that's been tricky. But those announcements do go out, and when the proposals for this year's tech fee, which I don't know exactly what they're going to be because I don't sit on that board and I don't have access to it, I know that there have been people in there advocating for the 5-bar pledge. I don't know how strongly. I hope it's there, and if it's not, that's going to be, I will be saying that from July 1st all the way to June 30th, that this is something we have to do now.
All right, and our final question. What is the one most important thing that needs to change on campus?
The most important thing that needs to change on campus is, I would have to say, communication from the administration. They've not been great at it, and they admit that they've not been great on it, and it's something that has to work. But if we have a real system where students, student government, and the administration can all be talking to each other, and where there's real communication flow, a lot of the problems would be solved a lot faster. Now, if anyone has the silver bullet that says this is exactly how we're going to increase communication instantly, I would love to hear it, and I'd be the first person to get behind it. But right now we've had teams of professionals working on it, we've had students working on it, we've had focus groups, committee meetings, task forces, and everything else, and we're still looking to find it. It's been getting better. Since I came to Brooklyn College 3 years ago, it's been getting a lot better. But it's still not good enough, and it needs to change quickly.
One thing that has to change on campus is the relationship between student government and the club leaders. We have to be able to work together. Coming from a campus, transferring from a campus where we had a close and personal relationship with almost all of the clubs, we were able to make sure that any issue that was brought to the table and affects students, we bring it forth to administration. We have to be able to sit down with the club leaders and say, you know what, we're here for you. We're not just about giving you money. We're about making sure that we cheerlead and advocate you to make sure you get the job done. We don't want to tell you what to do. We want to encourage you to fulfill the vision that you see fit in enhancing the student life here on campus. That we build a bridge together. That is not just student government, that is not just, you know, clubs and academic clubs, that we're one Brooklyn College. We're not Little Harvard, we're Brooklyn College. And that is the most important thing, tapping into the power of the student. Once that changes, diversity will flourish, communication will flourish, and strong advocacy between the clubs and the student leadership will prosper.
I think, though, to say that the single most important thing in Brooklyn College, the single most important thing when we have students who cannot pay their tuition, students who can't afford to get to school, students who have other commitments, say that the single most important thing is the relationship between student government and the club leaders is a bit naive. It's very important, don't get me wrong. It is incredibly important for student government to have a good relationship with the club leaders, and that's something that a lot of the people in this room can testify that I've personally been working on for a while. But is that the most important thing? When you are the one voice in the room for the entire student body, you are the one voice, and the most important thing is club leaders, I'm not sure that most of the students would agree.
When it comes to student leadership, you're providing student life. The administration, yes, they play a major role. But can a student who may be struggling, may not have money to get home, may want something to eat, can honestly run to the president of the college and say, can you help me out with $2.75 to get home? Or will they come to me and ask me, can we help out? And I go to one of the student leaders within my cabinet and say, listen, can somebody, let's pool some money together, make sure she get home safe, or make sure he has a sandwich, or maybe he or she may be struggling with something, and they may need to sit down and have a one-on-one, putting the presidency aside and putting Jamell Henderson in that person's shoes, having a direct conversation. Students' power is important, and it's not just dealing with clubs, it's dealing with the students, as I said before. We're all in this together. Administration, they play a role, but the students play a bigger role.
So when it comes to helping out students, the fact is the administration, at the end of the day, is better equipped to deal with it. The Office of Student Assistance and Referral, the Petrie Grant, the Robin Hood Fund, and various other emergency aid, which is exactly in place for what happens if a student comes and does not have enough money to get food or doesn't have enough money to get on the train home. That's exactly what it's there for. And there are people in the administration whose job it is every so often to go run and buy a Metro card for a student that comes. Sometimes, yes, student government has to get involved. When Hurricane Sandy hit, we needed all resources on board, which is why student government, one of the things we did was put up money to put together a fund for students who needed an emergency meal while they were waiting for the process to get those emergency grants. But that stuff, a lot of that stuff cannot be handled just through student government. We don't have the capacity to do it, we don't have the finances to do it, and we don't necessarily have the experience to do it because we're students. That's why the school has professionals to do it, and that's why I'm not sure that that is necessarily the most important thing.
A student will rather come to a fellow student than to an administrator for a personal issue. They wouldn't be comfortable with an administrator telling them what they should do. They'll rather hear it from a fellow colleague who may understand the situation. I would not be comfortable going to a vice president or somebody to get a grant. I'd rather them tell me, and I go and tell them, because I'm their advocate. That's my job. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to somebody who's making more money than me and say, hey, can you help me out? That doesn't work that way. We're all in this together.
All right, with that, we'll be moving on to the next part of this debate, which is the open Q&A session. So anyone who has a question, please line up at the microphone and ask. Remember, you have 30 seconds to ask questions. All right, if there's no questions at this time, we'll be moving on to closing statements, with David going first.
All right, so I want to take the opportunity to thank the rest of you who managed to hang out for the long run of this. Over the last hour and a half, I got to share with you a little part of my vision for the college and what I would like to see is what I would do for you as your president. But there was a lot, especially a good part of the PhD platform that was not covered, so I really do encourage you to go online and take a look at it. When I asked for your votes last year to run for assembly, you had to take me on faith. But now, a year later, as speaker, I have a record. Go give it a look. We've worked hard to make a better government. Let's keep working. We've cut the red tape, and we've made real measurable progress, so let's keep moving forward. In the beginning of this debate, I asked you to keep in mind 3 questions, and now I'm going to ask you one more. The student government president, at the end of the day, beyond all the parties and the conferences and the trips to Miami, is your voice in the administration. You have one voice that you have between you and the school. And when it comes to your education and your rights as a student, which one of us do you want in the room? I have the knowledge and the experience to get things done. I have the knowledge and the experience to keep the administration on its toes. And I have the knowledge and experience to best serve you as president. So when you go vote on April 22nd, vote for the party that shares your goal and your vision for Brooklyn College. Vote for the party that's done more than any party before it to bring accountability and transparency to student government. And vote for the party that will spend every day in office fighting for you. And then when you pick a candidate, vote for the candidate with the experience and the know-how to get things done. Vote for the candidate that will step up and fight for you where it counts in the administration. My name is David Rosenberg. I'm running for president. And thank you all for coming out here today.
By a show of hands, and this should be everybody, how many of you guys really love Brooklyn College? All right. You see, we are at a critical moment right now. We are on the verge of history, where you, the students and student leaders, have to make a choice. Stick with the same, or take a step out on faith and try something new. But for the past 2 years, his party has been in charge. What can we as student leaders honestly say has really been fulfilling, making sure that students are held, that the leadership is held accountable, that they're held transparent? I have experience during my tenure at BMCC. I brought that over here. I'm a person of energy, charisma, vision. I don't do this alone. I have my dynamic vice presidential candidate, Tati King, wait for the people, who stands right by my side. We're in this together. It's no longer the same old, same old. He had an entire academic year to get it right. His party had an entire 2 years to get it right. And nothing has fully been changed that has shown a dramatic progress in fulfilling diversity, accountability, and leadership to the students here on campus. This is the time. This is the time that you have to take a step out on faith and try new vision, new leadership, and a person who promises to be there for you. I don't say this because it's political. I say this because it's personal. I know this, and I've worked hard to get to this point. Their time is up. And on April 22nd, our time is now. Vote us in, and I promise you, we will start well before July 1st. Because you don't need to wait till July 1st to get the work started. You start now. Vote the shield.
With that concludes today's debate. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today and participating, especially the 2 candidates, and for the 3 organizations that helped put this together, the Political Science Club, the Kingsman, and the Excelsior. So with that, please remember to vote on April 22nd through April 24th on your BC portal. So thank you everyone for being here.
Thanks for coming, everybody.